How's it going, Knicks fans? Welcome back to another episode of Fireside Knicks. I'm your host, Dylan Backer, and I'm with my brother, Justin Backer. And the Knicks had yet another bad loss. This is probably the worst game of the season for the Knicks, all things considered, losing to this one to the Boston Celtics by a score of 133 to 123. This is the second game in a row now they've given up at least 130 points, and two guys got injured in this game. So a lot of things went wrong. Pretty much everything could have went wrong in this game. I'm not happy. Justin is not happy. I'm going to pass it off to him, though. He's going to give us the recap of the game and also some of his biggest takeaways from this pretty bad loss.
Yeah, this is annoying because they just lost to the Bucks in pretty embarrassing fashion the other day in the in-season tournament. And what do? They follow it up with yet another stinker. I mean, I don't know what to say. 146 points they gave up to the Bucks the other day in the in-season tournament. 133 points they gave up today. What is going on with the defense? I understand the Bucks and Celtics are very good teams, but I'm kind of tired of using that excuse. You know what I mean? I've said over and over again how good the Knicks are, but now I look like a fool. You know what I mean? They can't even keep up with these teams. They're 2-9 against teams that are above 500 this year, and they're 0-5 against the Bucks and the Celtics this year. Lucky for us, we get to play those two teams a whole lot more times this season because of the in-season tournament stuff. So that's just fantastic. But I don't know. This game was just very, very annoying. No defense, like I said, again, Celtics shot 53% from the field, 40% from three, and they hit 19 threes. I mean, we just watched the Bucks rain threes on the Knicks all day long the other day, and we saw it again. This was basically like the Bucks game part two. This really just felt like a second Bucks game. You know what I mean? I know the Knicks kind of fought in this one, and they made it a little close in the second half at times, but, as a Knicks fan, you don't fall for the fake comeback. You know better by now. So I didn't really fall for that. I kind of knew that was not going to last very long and things would even back out and the Celtics would win by double digits. And that's exactly what happened. So I don't know. Very, very annoying loss, but I don't know. I'll get into some positives because there's not that many positives. So I can get over that very, very, very quickly. RJ Barrett really had his first solid game, I would say, since the whole migraine spell. 23 points in this one, was 9 for 16 from the field. He was 2 for 5 from three. I have the numbers right in front of me, so that's why I was looking down. But yeah, I mean, this was really his first solid game, I would say, since the migraine thing. Once he came back from that, he was really struggling, couldn't really seem to get in a groove. Today, he looked pretty good. His process looked a lot better. He was attacking. He was assertive. All in all, I thought he played pretty good. I don't really have many complaints about how he played. I thought it was kind of weird, though. He didn't play a whole lot in the fourth quarter. I don't know what that was really about. He didn't come in until pretty late in the fourth quarter when the game started to kind of get away from the Knicks. So that was a little strange. I don't know. Tom Thibodeau had a really bad game in this one. I'll get into him in a second because there's a lot to say about Tom Thibodeau. What's another positive? Quentin Grimes, I guess, was okay. He was better than we've seen. He had 13 points in this one, 5 for 10 from the field, 3 for 7 from three. He got a lot of touches, a lot of shots in this one. He came off the bench in this one, by the way. I did not mention that. Dante DiVincenzo started over him. That was a big change. Today that was the big news, I guess, if you will, before the game started. Dante DiVincenzo started over Grimes. We've been calling for that to happen all season. We were happy to see that happened. Unfortunately, this was not the result I wanted. You know what I mean? I don't really know what to say. I mean, Grimes played well, so I'll give him his flowers. He played pretty well. It kind of sucks he didn't decide to start playing. He decided to start playing well when he got demoted to the bench, but I guess that's what has to happen sometimes. So I guess sometimes you need some added motivation or something. So I don't know. Good for him, I guess. Quickly was pretty solid. 17 points, 4 for 10 from the field, 3 for 8 from three. Solid game from him. Solid game from those two, really. Grimes, Quickly, and RJ really were the big standouts to me in this one. They played pretty well. I don't really have many complaints about how they played. Everyone else, I just feel like they really missed the mark in this one. Even Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson was 0 for 6 from three and 0 for 5 from three, in this one. He was also 0 for 5 from three against Milwaukee. He hasn't made a three-pointer in a week. I don't know what's going on with that. It's obviously just a little cold spell. I'm not too worried about that. Another thing with Jalen Brunson, though, is he got injured in garbage time in this one. 20 seconds left in the game. Derek White shooting free throws. The Celtics are up by 10 or 12 points, however much it was. And Jalen Brunson steps on Peyton Pritchard's foot, twists his ankle, limps to the locker room. I don't have many updates on him right now as we speak. The only thing that's really come out is that Tom Thibodeau has no regrets of keeping him out in garbage time. And what else did he say? He said, he said he hasn't talked to the team trainers yet about him. So if I get an update while we're recording this episode, I will let you know, and I will let you guys know what is said. But as of right now, there's no updates. So hopefully Brunson's okay. I personally have faith that it wasn't that serious. I think he avoided a serious injury. I'm hoping he walked off on his own power, but I'm not a doctor. So for all I know, I could be saying that. And then it comes out tomorrow morning that he's out for 3 months. So let me not jump the gun or anything. Mitchell Robinson got injured in this one too, by the way. I forgot about that. I don't know what was going on. I guess there was a foot injury or something at halftime. He went to the locker room for x-rays during the half. He didn't start the second half. Isaiah Hartenstein started the second half. All of a sudden, Robinson checks in, halfway through the third quarter, whatever, plays a few minutes, and then doesn't see the floor again. He barely played in the second half at all. Again, I don't have any updates on that either. So I don't know what's going on, man. This was just an all-around bad Knicks day. It was just a bad day. I mean, they lost badly, no defense. The offense was kind of shaky, I guess, at best. I mean, 123 points isn't bad, but I don't know. I feel like the Knicks are, the gap between them and the Celtics and Bucks right now looks very, very large. I know I've, been saying kind of all season how they need to kind of shorten that gap because it's widening right now. And I don't know. This was just very, very frustrating, especially considering they just lost to the Bucks the other day. I mean, back-to-back losses really where you get punched in the mouth by teams that are true contenders. I don't know. Considering how we've said that this team's ceiling, the Knicks being, that their ceiling is maybe second round conference finals type thing. I don't know how realistic that is right now, given how they're playing against contending teams. I really, obviously it's still early, but I hope this isn't a team that just beats up on bad teams like the Pistons and the Wizards and the Hornets and teams like that and just beats up on them and loses to contenders. I mean, that's just, what is that? A first round exit? That's what that sounds like to me. You know what I mean? That's just a very mediocre team, middle of the pack team. Obviously it's early. I don't want to jump the gun on anything, but something just seems off with the team right now the last week or so. And, hopefully this is just a dry spell, really. This is really their first kind of cold streak of the season since the first 6 games. So I don't know. There's ebbs and flows to the season, so I'm not going to overreact to 2 losses. But I am frustrated that they're 0-5 so far against the 2 teams that really are in front of them right now. So I don't know. I'm just pretty annoyed about everything today. There's really nothing really positive to come out of this game. I mean, I'm hoping Brunson's okay mainly. That's one of the main things at this point that I'm just concerned about because the losses happened. It is what it is at this point. But if Brunson's got to miss a whole bunch of time, I mean, the Knicks are screwed going forward. I don't really know how else to put it. So I'm just more worried about that right now, just looking ahead. So I don't know. I'm kind of done talking about this game, though. I'm pretty frustrated with everything that happened. So.
Yeah, one other thing I want to highlight, too. All of the Knicks starters had a negative plus-minus in this one, and all the guys on the bench had a positive plus-minus. It was very night and day with the bench unit and the starting unit, and I think we could kind of see that in this game too. Isaiah Hartenstein had a fantastic game, by the way. I think he had 16 rebounds or something like that. I don't have the box score right in front of me, but I did see something like that. I thought he played really well tonight. I think he was the one, aside from the other 3 that you mentioned, I think he's another guy that deserves some flowers. I thought, he played very well, given that he was facing, a Boston team that has a lot of size, and the fact that he had to fill in for Mitchell Robinson for a lot of those minutes because of his ankle injury or whatever he had going on. But back to my point about the starters, I mean, I don't think that's a correlation of the fact they started DiVincenzo, but if we want to say that DiVincenzo's got to be starting moving forward, that's not a good way to start off. Having everyone be a negative plus minus, and everyone not really doing what they're supposed to do and just looking just bad. I mean, yeah, the offense wasn't terrible, but the defense was just horrific again. I mean, that and that's one thing too that I want to add as to why I don't think it's a direct correlation with DiVincenzo starting, because Grimes started the game against the Bucks and the defense was arguably worse. Defense was still bad in this one. I think it's just the whole team right now is not doing their part. I don't know what's going on, but there were too many plays tonight where the guys aren't playing help defense on drives. They're not switching properly. They're miscommunicating left and right. I mean, it happened too many times tonight. It's really no shock that Boston essentially lit us up from the floor. I mean, Kristaps Porzingis had the first 8 points and went 3 for 3, and I believe he made his first 8 shots of this game. You knew right from the get-go that it was going to be a tough defensive night when he was like that. Sometimes guys just get hot, and sometimes the guys will light you up, but this wasn't one of those nights. Yes, Boston did get hot, but that was because the Knicks played some of the worst defense I think I've ever seen. I mean, all around, too. Under the basket, around the three-point line, in the mid-range, they're fouling too much. I mean, just all around, a horrible defensive game from them. I really don't think any single thing about their defense was good tonight. Not a single thing. Maybe the fact that Isaiah Hartenstein had all those rebounds, but that was about it. And that's a very minuscule thing. You're not going to win games because your backup center had 16 rebounds. That's not gonna cut it. You have to play better defense than that. Overall though, I mean, I'm also just really frustrated about this game. And like you said, they need to beat these contending teams because this is kind of getting, concerning. Yes, we're 20 games in, but it sounds like it's not a lot, but at the same time, it also is a fourth of the season already. So at the same time, you don't want this to become a trend where they're just gonna, like you said, beat up on the crappy teams or the teams that are fighting for the lottery picks, and then losing badly to the teams that are in front, like the Celtics, the Bucks. They've yet to even face the 76ers yet this season, and if I'm not mistaken, they have like I think like another 14% of their games against Boston, Milwaukee, and Philly. So that right there, I mean, the schedule doesn't get easier for the Knicks, and they have a West Coast trip coming up as well, where they got to play the Clippers, who are rolling of late. The Lakers are doing really well right now. The Lakers are in the finals of the in-season tournament. I mean, it doesn't get easier for them. So if they want to start winning games again, they really got to turn things up, and they got to play better defense. Yeah, their offense is doing okay right now, and it's doing fine. Sure, their defense sucks. It's terrible. I don't know what happened. The first 20 games of the season, their defense was good. They played solid defense. First 19 games, 20 games, they played good defense. They were one of the best defensive teams in the league. They're top 5 in net rating. I don't know what's happened the last 2 games, though. Last 2 games, it looked like they can't guard a parked car. Like, I really don't know what it is. It's pretty bad. It's pretty horrific. And it's not just from, one guy causing, the whole defense to collapse. No, it's everybody. Every single player is playing horrific defense. Every single one. And I understand that the Bucks and Celtics are great teams and have, these high-powered offenses that, they can shoot any team out of the floor any given night. I understand that. However, if the Knicks are supposed to be this super good team, this good team that you and I have really been hyping up for most of the season, then they got to play better defense against these teams. They have to be able to defend them. They got to be able to hold their own, and they got to be able to keep up with them. And really, like you said, sure, there were some times tonight where they cut it to 7, they cut it to 11. Did we really think that they were going to come back though? Because I personally did not. I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought a comeback was pretty much ruled out. And that as bad as it sounds for me to say, because it sounds like I'm a super pessimistic fan. I've seen this movie too many times where they cut the lead close and then they take their foot off the gas on defense and just give up a bunch of open threes, a bunch of offensive rebounds, and then they go back down by 14 points. I see it too many times. The one time we didn't see it was when they actually made the comeback against Miami. That was the one time I think I can remember in recent years where they actually completed a comeback like that. And that was something that I could not have predicted was going to happen. Tonight, though, I knew that wasn't going to happen. I knew they weren't going to have a repeat of the Miami game. I knew honestly, once it got down to 7, I was like, they're going to end up having a defensive lapse, and it's going to completely mess up the rhythm that they were just in. And I said when they were down by 7, they gave up a basket to go back down 9. I said they should have called a timeout because there was that sequence late in the fourth quarter. They had 3 timeouts remaining, and they were dropping the ball off the inbounds. They were dropping the rebound. They were turning it over as soon as they got the rebound. I was like, okay, call a timeout or something because they're frazzled. They're all over the place. And what do you know? They went back down double digits before they decided to call the timeout. It's not rocket science. I really think certain things could have been done a lot better, and I really don't think it was that hard to comprehend. I'm a 21-year-old fan sitting at home saying these things, so why can't Tom Thibodeau see these things? And don't get me wrong, I'm a Tibbs guy. I think Tibbs has done a good job for the Knicks overall in his tenure. The team's been relevant and winning in his time here, but certain things I really think could be better, and especially the fact that why is Jalen Brunson in the game in garbage time? Why? I understand that maybe it wasn't necessarily like a 30-point blowout. The game was over 2 minutes before that. He should have been out of the game. He really should have, especially with the fact that you were already dealing with an injury on your team in Mitchell Robinson. Why risk getting another important guy hurt? And that's exactly what happened. So I pray to God that Jalen Brunson is okay and that he doesn't have a serious injury and that he's able to play in the next game, or at the very minimum miss 1 game and not 3 months. So we're kind of just going to need to wait and see on that. But that really annoyed me. That irked me. I know Tom Thibodeau has always been a guy who likes to play his guys down the stretches of games, no matter what the score is, no matter if they're up 30, down 30. He's always been doing that. So I'm not going to sit here and act like that's something new, but it's frustrating. It is extremely frustrating, and especially when one of your best players, if not your best player in this case, gets injured because of that. I don't know what to say. And sure, the injury itself was a freak injury and that Tom Thibodeau cannot control that, him stepping on Peyton Pritchard's foot. I understand that. But he can control the fact that he could have been taken out of the game right there. And I really think he should have been taken out well before that could have even possibly happened. I don't really have much else to say about this. This game really, really angered me, as you can tell by the tone of my voice. I'm going to pass it off to you, though, and you can kind of just, let out any final thoughts you got and also preview their next game that they got.
Yeah, in regards to Tibbs leaving Brunson in the game, obviously it's a freak injury and whatnot, but like you said, Tibbs should know better. I mean, they were shooting free throws. You had an opportunity to take him out right there. I don't know why you didn't do it. I understand it wasn't a 30-point game, but it was a double-digit lead. Game was out of reach. There was like 20 seconds left. Pull him. What do you like? Pull him, bro. Something stupid like that can happen. Obviously, you don't think, in that moment, oh, he's going to step on someone's foot and get injured. No, something stupid like that can happen. And it just happened. Like I said, I don't think it'll be a serious injury. I have faith that, if anything, he misses a game or two. Hopefully, I don't think he'll miss a whole bunch of time. I don't think maybe I was a little overreacting when I said they're screwed if he misses a lot of time. They do still have Emmanuel Quickly, who played really well as a starter in the times he stepped up last season. So maybe I shouldn't overreact to that just yet, but I'm just speaking from emotions when I overreact like that. But I don't know. This is the second time that I've witnessed Tibbs do this, though, in his time with the Knicks. He did this a couple years ago with RJ Barrett. I don't know if you remember this. This was a game on the West Coast. I believe they were in Denver, I want to say. They were down by a whole lot with no time left. The game was over. At the time, RJ was probably our most prized possession. I mean, he was arguably our best player at the time. Randall was struggling that year. RJ was starting to ascend. Tibbs kept him in the game. And what do you know? He got injured right there at the end. And he ended up missing a few games. I mean, I don't know when Tibbs is going to learn to not do this. I mean, he did this. He's notorious, really, for doing it with Derrick Rose. He's, a lot of people think he's the reason that Derrick Rose's knees are basically pulled pork. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know when he's going to learn from these mistakes at this point. He's been around long enough to know he's seen it happen too many times. I can't speak for Tom Thibodeau. I don't know what he's thinking in that situation, but it's very frustrating as a fan to see that happen. So I don't know. But moving on to, the future, looking ahead, they have the Raptors on Monday next. They just beat the Raptors recently, about a week ago. So, I think they should take care of business against the Raptors, Brunson or no Brunson. I really, the Raptors are 9-13. They're a team that's struggling. There's a lot of things going on in that team that are not positive. A lot of the team feels like, half the roster could get traded tomorrow. So I don't know. That's a team you have to beat. You have to beat the Raptors. And it's at home. So take care of business. Get that over with, because then you have a tough West Coast trip. You have the Jazz, Suns, Clippers, Lakers, and then Nets after that. That's a tough schedule. Obviously, the Jazz suck, so I'm not really worried about that game. The Jazz should be an easy one, but it is on the West Coast. It's the first game of a West Coast trip. So, putting that into perspective, that's not going to be the most easy thing in the world, even though the Jazz are not that good. So I don't know. They have a tough West Coast trip ahead. They better win this game against the Raptors, because if they don't, they'll be in some deep waters going into that West Coast trip, which will not be easy. This month of December in general is not going to be easy. Looking ahead for the entire month, like I said, Raptors Monday, then you have the Jazz, the Suns, Clippers, Lakers, Nets, the Bucks twice, the Thunder, the Magic, and then the Pacers. That is the month of December. All of those teams are good except the Jazz, really. You know what I mean? The Raptors aren't very good themselves, but the Raptors are still not horrible. I mean, that's a team that can beat us. That's a team that's, they don't match up well against us. We said it last time we played them. I was surprised we beat them last time. So, I don't know. This is a very tough month for the Knicks. They better hope Brunson is healthy for this month, because, like I said, I don't think they're screwed if Brunson is out for the month or whatever, but it's going to be a lot tougher if he is. I'll tell you that. I mean, just looking at the schedule, dude, they're playing a whole bunch of playoff teams. This is going to get interesting. We're about to find out who this team really is. We're about to find out if this team is fraudulent and they can only beat up on bad teams, like I said earlier, or if they're legit and they have a ceiling that's second round Eastern Conference Finals. We're really about to find out who this team is. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what this next month holds for the Knicks.
Yeah, no, like you said, it is an extremely tough month for the Knicks. I mean, all those teams you just named are above 500 and in playoff contention right now. Every single one of them, except for the Raptors and Utah Jazz, of course. But, for hindsight's sake, I'm pretty much just ignoring them, because, the rest of the games are extremely tough. They just played, the Bucks and the Celtics back-to-back this month, so you can add those two to the month of December as well. I mean, obviously we don't make the schedule, and obviously the NBA, makes these schedules just, they randomize it for each team. But man, they gave us a hard schedule to start the year. And I'll tell you right now, though, it's a schedule that's tough. But if the Knicks want to prove that they're a good team, they should be able to get through this tough schedule. It will get easier at some point, but they have to get through this tough part of the schedule if they want to prove that they're a legitimate team that belongs in the playoffs and all that stuff. They have to do it, and this is the opportunity for them to do it. This loss tonight was extremely disheartening. The loss against the Bucks, extremely disheartening. I need to see better play, especially on the defensive side of the ball, if I want to feel more encouraged about this team going forward. Obviously, I'm not going to overreact. They are still 12-9. They have still won 10 of their last 15 games. That is still a fantastic mark. But they could be better than that. They really honestly could have a better stretch than that. As Knicks fans, we want them to win every single game. They're not going to win every single game. It is physically impossible to go 82-0. But at the same time, we don't want to see these defensive lapses like this, because when they're like this, it feels like you just let the game get away from you. It feels like you just beat yourself rather than losing to a good team. Yes, the Celtics are a great team. They're 16-5, best team in the East, all that good stuff. And the Bucks are second best team in the East, whatever. Finals contenders left and right. Cool. The Knicks should be able to beat these guys if they want to be a good team. If they're trying to prove that they're a good team, they should be able to beat them. Obviously, you're not going to go flawless against them. You're going to have tough games against them. You're going to lose a couple times. But like you said in the opening, they're 0-5 against those two teams. They're not even competing. Sure, maybe some of those games have been close, but they're letting it get away. They are letting it get away. They've done it every time. They make the games close. They kind of get something going, and then just a horrible, horrible stretch of play for a good 5 or 6 minutes kills them, and it ends up defining the whole game. That's pretty much what happened in this one. That at one point in this game, the Knicks were up by 4, by the way. I don't know if anybody here will even remember that because of how bad they lost this game. They were up by 4 at one point, and they ended up going down by 20 like that because of a horrible, horrible stretch of play. Horrible. One bad stretch of play can kill you. Obviously, basketball is a game of runs, and sometimes a bad run will happen, and then you got to respond with a good run. But when you go down by 20 points, it's going to be exhausting to make a comeback like that. So that's why it didn't surprise me they fell short of making such a comeback. You can go on a run all you want, but when you dig yourself such a deep hole, it's tough to climb out of that. It's very tough. I don't mean to keep on ranting, though. Obviously, their next game is against Toronto, and it's back home. They need to take care of business, like you said, and win that game. If they don't win that game, I'm going to be very concerned about this team. I'm honestly going to, because, and I don't want to sound too dramatic, because sure, they'll go from 12-9 to 12-10, still a good record. But what I mentioned before and what's ahead of them, that's what's going to make me worried. And obviously, teams are going to struggle. Slumps happen. This is, I guess, like you said, since the start of the season, their first real slump since that whole, just awkward start. Now that, certain guys are playing better, certain guys are not playing better, though. I want the whole team to be clicking at the same time. Quentin Grimes having all those struggles was screwing us over. It really was. And then it turns out he has a good game, but we still lose. Because one time he has a good game, Brunson has a bad game. DiVincenzo doesn't have a good game. RJ Barrett just has a decent game. All this stuff. You want every single guy clicking at once. You want everyone clicking at once. And that's a lot to ask for. I know it's a lot to ask for every single given night, but it's all we want. We want them to be clicking at once, and just for a good stretch of play where they can really put themselves in a good position to make a deep playoff run. But anyways, I do think this is a good time to wrap the video up. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you guys' support once again. Let us know what you guys say about this game in the comment section below. I'm sure a lot of you guys are pretty frustrated about this one just as much as I am. And yeah, just let us know about all that. You can follow us on all of our social media platforms. We're on X, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, of course, this YouTube page you were watching the video on. The audio versions of the podcast can be on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So make sure you give us a 5-star rating on those. You can follow our personal X accounts. They are above our heads. I'm Dylan Backer. That is my brother, Justin Backer. We'll see you guys in the next episode of Fireside Knicks. Peace out.